Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel where I talk about movies. And today I'm going to go back 101 years. I'm going to go back to 1922 for a Erich von Stroheim film, Foolish Wives. And this is the Flicker Alley release of July 2023, earlier this year. And it's a new 4K restoration done by Museum of Modern Art in San Francisco Silent Film Festival. And this is also available on Kino, an older copy. Now, this is a 2021 4K restoration with the color tinting. From what I could understand, because there's a long, very convoluted history of this film, since its original release in 1922. But I think this is the first one that has the color print, the coloring of the print on the final reel of the film. It looks rough, a little rough in spots, but my gosh, this is some film. And it's set in 1922 at a palatial villa in Monte Carlo. So we're in Monaco. And in this palatial villa, right on the Mediterranean, we have a Russian count played by Erich von Stroheim, who was living there with his two cousins. They're living the high life, but it's all counterfeit. And as a matter of fact, we learned very early that they rely on counterfeit money to sustain their opulent lifestyle. But they're always looking for new marks to find new big score. So they read in the paper that there's a new, very wealthy U.S. envoy about to arrive in Monte Carlo, and he has a beautiful young wife. He's much older. She's in her early 20s. So this is going to be the new mark, and these three cousins are now trying to figure out how they're going to go about compromising her and then having a big payday. So we go to this palatial hotel casino that's been constructed for the film, and a little bit more of that later. And on the veranda, he's eyeing her. She's noticing him eye her, and she's reading a book. And as he manages to get himself introduced to this young wife, we see the title of the book, which is Foolish Wives by Erich von Stroheim. It's a little meta. Von Stroheim was a very strange writer of narratives. I mean, there's lots of very strange things in this film. So. And he was well known to moviegoers because during the World War I, he played German officers. And in his first film, Blind Husbands, he played another character that audiences would dislike. And in fact, for Foolish Wives, he is publicized as the man you love to hate. He is definitely a villain here. He's a debaucher, I mean, to the nth degree. He's a satanic character, but he has charm. And when you're watching him in his escapades, you can't help kind of admiring the chutzpah, because he is no Russian count. And this screen persona that he is presenting here, and that he basically presents in the rest of his films, has a peculiar intensity to it, because von Stroheim himself was a fake. He had presented himself as the son of a Prussian count. He added Bond to his name. He was actually, in real life, he was the son of a Jewish hat maker in Vienna. But he maintained this masquerade throughout his entire life. In fact, the first biography written about von Stroheim, was based with his cooperation and based on the stories he told. So his original biography wasn't until his original biography maintains this masquerade. And it wasn't until the 1970s that it was Richard Kozarsky, a great film historian who uncovered went to the mysterious story of his life and presented it as it really was. So he is a fraud in real life. He's playing a fraud with a great deal of gusto. Now, they built, this was a Universal project from Carl Laemmle, when Carl Laemmle was in charge of Universal, and they built, because von Stroheim's first film, Blind Husbands, was a big hit, well, let's do this again on an even bigger scale. So they built a replica of a similar hotel, casino in Monte Carlo on the coastline of Northern California. This is an amazing set. When you see it I had no idea when I saw the film, and I was just like stunned. Did they actually go to Monte Carlo? And you have the promenade, and then they also built part of the palatial villa that von Stroheim, as this Russian count and his supposed Russian count and his cousins were living at. So it was an amazing production. I think they had bad weather. They had to reconstruct it again. Went way over budget, and Stroheim was just spending, filming and filming and filming, and he never wanted to stop filming. So, but then Irving Thalberg, at only 20 years old, became the head of production at Universal, because all their productions were just financially out of control. So he threatened to take Stroheim off the project, but Stroheim said, well, if you fire me as a director, you got to fire me as an actor as well, because I'm the star of the film. But then when finally Thalberg just pulled the plug and said, that's enough, no more filming. So, but they played up the fact that when the film was finally released, they played up the fact that this incredible set recreation. But this was also the film where Stroheim was very famous, because he would just stop production because the Prussian officer, or the Viennese officers, Austrian officers that were on the promenade were not properly attired. There was, the cravats were wrong or whatever. Stroheim had presented himself as an expert, on European soldiery, even though he knew nothing about it. And so his original cut is 6 hours, and it was actually shown to, I think, a convention of censors. That was untenable. Stroheim had crazy ideas about distribution. He thought that there would be 2 separate movies shown on consecutive nights of 3 hours long. So on a train from LA to New York City, they were able to get it down to about a little over 3 hours. But that didn't make, there was so much stuff in this 3 hours and 20-minute cut, didn't make any sense at all. Stroheim did not have, like I say, a great narrative sense. So eventually they get it down to about 2 hours and 20 minutes. And, like I say, this set is just so fantastic, but really what I think is memorable about this film, besides that, is the psychological intensity of some of these scenes. I mean, these are really intense kind of scenes of psychological portraits. Yeah, I found surprising for a 1922 silent movie. Now, I'm not a expert in silent film, but it seemed kind of sophisticated, psychologically speaking, and powerful at times as well. So, on this is a really nice Flicker Alley set. They are they are a little expensive, and this cover. I love this cover, and as I say, there is color tinting on the final reel, so having that yellow border there is appropriate, and here we get an alternate artwork on the other side. And so on the Kino release, we have, there is a Richard Kaczarski commentary. As I stated, he was the one who was a great Stroheim scholar, and he very instrumental in finding Stroheim films, including Foolish Wives. But we do get two way too short documentaries, one with Dave Kerr, where he talks about the whole history of the film and the subsequent history, and then one with Brad Rosenstein. And his, he focuses very much in on the set that was built in Northern California. They put out a call, because it looks like there's thousands of extras on this promenade, because we get it in a very long panoramic shot. But they were all the rich people of Northern California. They were asked to, if they wanted to appear in a film, they all did, bring your finery, so they didn't have any costume expenses. And then they would, instead of paying all these rich people, they made a significant donation to a charity. So, and in this Brad Rosenstein piece, we get to see what it looked like before, during the construction, and then after they left, because they just left. They left all this fantastic set that the locals, tore down in order to get all the wood that was involved in the set. But it was a set and they filmed forever. So, it was like let's go look at the set of the film. It became like a tourist attraction for a while. And then we get a really nice booklet. And there's von Stroheim in his Russian outfit. He's got, the monocle and the cap, tilted to the one side, looking very, very dashing. And here we get David Thompson. This was shown, I think, in 2021, 2022 at the film festival in San Francisco, Silent Film Festival, with a liner notes by David, or program notes by David Thompson, which is very good. But most of this booklet is about the restoration, the mystery of the restoration. This is by James Layton. And what a story, what an incredible job these film historians do. When you read this one, you really get an idea of what they had to go through to find all these different, to find copies that they could use. So they eventually used there was one found in Italy, in Milan, where some eventually famous Italian film directors, Marco Ferreri, I think, and Luigi Comenici, they were able to somehow kind of steal prints that were going to be put in, going to go to a factory to get the silver, the nitrate, out of these reels of film that they just thought were junk. So they were able to save it. They saved other films as well, and that came up. I forget what year that came up, but that was what was left of that, which with the color tinted on the final reel. There's yellows. There's a fire in the final reel, so we get yellow. The fire's fire, the fire in the candles. A red. We get red on the fire trucks. It's pretty spectacular, and I'm sure audiences in 1922 would have definitely found it spectacular. So this is such a great article. I should have been a film historian. And then it ends with a little bit about Timothy Brock, who is a noted composer of film scores, but also a noted conductor, a noted historian of composers of the early 20th century. And this is a terrific, it's just a terrific score that he has written for Foolish Wives. So, what's left now? What's coming up next? I was watching a YouTube I think it was Man v Film, and he was talking, he was all depressed because his to be watch list had reached over 200 films, I think he said. And no matter how he tries, it never goes down. You want to see my TBR? Here it is. I'm holding up my TBR. In fact, my next film, which is my next video, will be on Orson Welles' The Trial on this new Criterion release. I used to have like a month's worth those on hand, so I would have 8 or 9 films, and then as they start to dwindle down, I got enough so I would have enough movies to talk about for the next month. But now I'm down to 1 week, so I have to scour. Now, if you buy through Amazon, where I live, I mean, if I spend enough money, I can get new releases the very same day. So, but that's the way I do. I do that with books as well. I buy books. I read a lot of film books, which are expensive, so I don't buy a lot of them at one time. I buy another one as soon as I finish the one I'm reading. Okay, so again, next up will be The Trial. I have a lot of supplements to go through on this one, so it might be a few days. Thanks a lot, everybody who managed to listen. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. Take care.